Hold on, we recording? Hold on, wait. I'm not ready yet. Let me give me some wine. Okay, we ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hello and welcome. Cheers to each and every one of you playing this episode. Don't forget to stay in the know, to look out for our social media posts on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the episode notes. What's going on, y'all? We are definitely back on another episode. Check me out. I've been being so consistent, you guys, and just sticking to my word because I love my podcast. I don't know about y'all, but I love my podcast and I love what God is doing in my podcast. So I definitely just want to take advantage of the things that God is showing me, through my life. And if I can be a blessing to you guys, I definitely want to do that. So I'm here. I showed up and I'm finna show out what I'm about to say. I'm finna show out with what I'm about to say. Okay. Let's get serious. Okay, you guys. So what's going on? We're on another episode today. It is what it is. You see the title. This hurts. In the last episode, I talked about, or the last couple episodes, we talked about being conditioned. We talked about closure. We talked about just forgiveness. We talked about a lot of things, right? So, leading up to this episode, when I tell you guys, this whole year has been these podcast episodes. These are my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are uncut, real, raw information that I'm using daily because I am struggling with forgiveness right now. I'm struggling with getting out of the season of wanting to be bitter and petty. That's just where I'm at, and God is working on me. And like I told you guys, I'm doing a 21-day fast, which ends on today, Sunday. By the time you guys hear this, it'll be in the next Sunday, so it'll definitely be done by then. But the information and the way that God has showed up in my 21-day fast is just, for one, overwhelming. It's a lot, and I'm to the point where it's just like, okay, God, what did I sign up for, because you guys know anytime you fast and you actually stick to the fasting and just get quiet to hear God's voice, He is definitely going to show up. Now, what He going to say is the craziest part, right? So He going to definitely show up, but He may not show up saying or telling you to do what you think He's going to tell you to do or what you think He's going to say. It's always going to be the opposite, because the word says that our thoughts are not His thoughts, our word is not His word. So we don't think alike. Things that make sense to us do not make sense to God. Things that make sense to God does not make sense to us, because we're not made in the same. God knows all. He sees all. He's omnipresent. We do not know what's going to happen in the next second. We plan our lives, but we really don't know how far those plans are going to get. And I think when you think about the reality of that, it's just like, wow, I really don't know what's going to happen within the next minute from now, And I think that's just overwhelming. So the reason that I titled this episode, Ouch, This Hurts, is because I've been talking to you guys about, like I said, not being in a season of bitterness, unforgiveness, and just trying to move steadfast with healing and coming forth through the things that are sent to destroy you. And I've realized that in this process, God is asking me to do the most outrageous things that I just cannot make sense. And I'm just like, God, what is this? Like, why do I feel powerless? Like, why do I feel like I'm giving the other person or the other people the upper hand when I'm providing grace, when I'm providing understanding? Why do I feel like I'm giving this person, like, basically a pat on his back or a pat on her back, for the things that they've done to come against me? And like I told you guys, I told the Lord that I wanted to be more understanding. I wanted to be more graceful, because He is graceful to us. He is understanding with us. He is able to give us a clean slate and renew us each and every day, each and every moment. Every time we turn away from God, all we have to do is turn back. and there's no holding it over our head. There is no dangling the cheese around us like we're little mouses and cats and rats and all of that. But that's what we tend to do. Excuse my throat, you guys. I don't know. Every time I start to record a podcast episode, something happens. Drink a little bit of my drink. Drink. A little bit of wine. But, okay, there we go. But, it's definitely just an overwhelming experience. And I definitely can say that this is not what I signed up for at all. You know, I did not expect God to move the way He is moving and tell me to do the things that I am doing. And in that, I'm just like, Lord, you know? But as God is pushing me to a place where, I just lost my train of thought, you guys. But as God is pushing me to a place where I want to do better and I want to succeed at what I'm doing, God is telling me to be obedient. And to be honest with you guys, me and God have been just going back and forth. God is like, okay, Jasmine, like we talked about this. I told you what to do. You're disobeying me. And I'm like, God, I'm not disobeying you. I'm listening, but I hear you. But what you saying ain't clicking. Like the math ain't mathing for me. Just like this month, I'm, doing what it's supposed to do. It's not giving what I thought it was going to give, This year so far, it's not just showing up the way I thought it was going to show up. So, in that moment, it's just so hard because to the situations and the people that I feel like I just want to cut off and I just want to be bitter to and I just want to say no, have a cold heart to, I can't because God is like, have grace, be understanding, go out your way, be kind, do a good deed, do this person a good thing. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. And the more that I rebel, God, the more that I realize that I'm pushing myself away from purpose, pushing myself away from the blessing that God has for me because I am essentially being disobedient because I know what it is that God is telling me. And I actually, you guys, last night I had a conversation with the Lord and we were talking about this very topic. And I was telling him that, I just, Lord, like I don't feel like I'm in control here. I don't feel like me being obedient is doing what it's supposed to do. I didn't want to give this person grace. I know what I said in the beginning, but how can I give this person grace or these people rather? Because like I said, it's not just one situation, it's several situations and several people involved. But I was like, how can I give grace to these situations and these people I don't know what's come over me. Like, you guys, when I swear to you, every time I go to record a podcast episode, I get sleepy out of nowhere, or I can't talk right. Something's wrong with my voice. It ain't nobody but the devil. But I'm going to get this word out to you guys because that's what God sent me to do. But I'm just like, I don't get it, like I really don't get what you're trying to show me. I really don't. I really feel like all of this is just so overwhelming, to say the least. And I just am on the brink of, okay, giving up. That's like the 10th time I've yawned, you guys. And I'm so sorry. You probably like, girl, you need to go to sleep. But no, I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm going to get this out. Because I know that there's somebody listening to this that needs this. So hopefully you can hear me through my yawning. You can hear me through my voice crackling or me losing train of thought. Hopefully you can hear the message that is intended to be given. I had to take a reality check and say that God, honestly, healing hurts. And you would think that, of course it hurts. It hurts for the other person, because you're healing, you're moving towards better. But if we actually take a second and break down what healing looks like, it's different for everybody. But in my situation, I'm having to have tough conversations. I'm having to be 100% honest about how I feel. And that is 100%, 10,000% hard for me because I do not process my feelings. You know, I don't deal with my feelings. I just bottle them up. I internalize a lot, and God is telling me to be external and just be forthright in how I feel. Just be 100% honest, no matter what the situation looks like, no matter what's come against me, to just stand on how I feel and just speak about how I feel and what I say. And that's hard, you guys. Like, it's so hard because I'm just like, I feel like giving grace is giving the other person power to feel like, oh, you know, I've wronged this person, but yet they keep coming to me, or I can come to them and if I need something, or, you know, I can count on them. And I'm just like, God, uh, you know, this is not really doing what it's supposed to do. Like, I didn't think that this was grace. You know, I didn't think that I would have to do these things. I thought I could just heal, talk about how I feel, and even that is hard for me. You know, I thought I could just do those things and be done with this whole process. Because, like I said, I don't want to be here. I don't want to have to deal with these things. And I'm not really understanding why I have to do all this work towards someone that I feel like wronged me. Sorry, guys, I gotta drink my water because I don't know, my throat is just, it's like the more I talk, it just goes out of whack. But, I just, my goodness, it's just so hard. And I honestly, in order to get by, I had to just revert back to what the word says about grace. So I was looking at Matthew 4 and Luke 4 about how those stories talk about how Jesus was tempted and how, you know, he was led by Jesus. He was led by God, and then he was followed by Satan. And I thought about God, you know, that what do you do when God leads you down the path of this rough path of healing that you don't want to go down, you know, to test what you're actually saying to God and say, is this what I really mean? And I think too, it helped me because I know I tell you guys all the time, like, when you pray, make sure that you're saying the exact things that you mean. And the craziest thing happened. I was like, you know what? I got kind of overwhelmed. So I was like, let me watch a sermon. So I went to YouTube to pull up my handy dandy sermons. And I found it was a message by, and of course I added in the episode notes, but it was a sermon by okay, because it's 9 o'clock. I am not sleepy, you guys. I'm telling you, this is nobody but the devil, but do not get distracted. Did we talk about that? Distraction. Don't get distracted by my yawning. You are like, oh, I'm not going to listen to this episode because she get on my nerves for this yawning. But listen, stay focused. Don't be distracted. Don't be tempted. This is a test. Will you fail or will you pass? But, anyways, like I was saying, let me stay focused and try to get it out faster. Maybe if I talk a little faster, hopefully you guys can grab what I'm saying, because naturally I talk faster, but I realized once I actually slowly process what I'm saying, I'm yawning, I'm looking over here, I'm distracted myself. So let me focus. Okay, let me get back to it. Rewind. Okay, so I went to YouTube to look at a sermon, and I ran into a message by Robert Madu called When Healing Hurts. And so I went to play it because I said, well, this speaks to me. And it's crazy because in the very moment, it's like God just knows what I need. Like, he really just knows what I need, because anytime when I feel overwhelmed or anytime I feel overcome by the situation or the things that God is asking me to do, I can always rely on either me going into my Bible app or me going into YouTube to open a sermon. And there's always literally a sermon waiting for me, or a Bible verse waiting for me, or a plan waiting for me to encourage me through the process. And so I went into YouTube and I found Robert Madu, When Healing Hurts. And so I said, okay, let me play this because, you know, this is what I feel, you know. And so he was literally, and it's so crazy because I was talking to one of my friends and we were sending messages earlier, and I was telling her, I said, it's not supposed to be this hard. Like, is it supposed to be this hard? I don't think it's supposed to be this hard. And I was telling her the same things like I told you guys, that you have to really be serious about what you're praying, because God will literally test you, and how are you gonna overcome those situations where you're walking by faith and being obedient, saying yes to God, when you're never tested or tempted with those situations? How can you say I'm going to be understanding when you've never been put in a situation to be understanding? How are you saying that you're going to have grace when you're not in a situation that allows you to give grace? How are you saying you're going to forgive when you're not put in a situation where people have to be forgiven? So when we ask God to do these things, we have to realize that those things come with unexpected trials and situations and experiences and feelings and scars that may never heal, if we don't realize that what we are praying for, God has given us exactly what we asked for. And not in a way to harm you, because we know that God doesn't make any mistakes. And we know that his word says that he has plans that will prosper us and not to harm us. And so that anything that is sent by us, weapons may form, but they will not prosper. So we have to remember that the things that are sent for us are to help us, to build us. And like I said, they're either an answer to a prayer or a situation to build us up, to be a testimony. Anything that God sends us or anything that comes our way is always going to give God the glory. And so my goal in this is just to say that God, the reason that I was so graceful, the reason that I was so understanding, the reason that I was able to do the things that I'm trying to do was not because of me, not because of the person, but because of God's grace over the situation. And I can be honest with you guys and say that that's been the situation, because of the grace that God has given me, and I'm reminded of that, and God has been convicting me so hard in this fast that the grace that I've been extending is just like, you get some grace and you get some grace. Here, you want some extra grace? I got some grace. And then in the back end, I'm just like overwhelmed and burnt out, because I'm like, God, okay, I'm out of grace. Like, I don't have no more. Don't ask me for no more. And I opened this sermon, and he's preaching on Matthew 4, Luke 4, and just talking about, basically the same things. And he says, what do you do when the healing that you thought you wanted, or the healing that you're asking for, hurts? What do you do when that person that hurts you needs you? What do you do when that person that scarred you is the person that you'll have to extend your hand out to? What do you do when God tells you to be kind to that person with all your heart, because it's gonna make sense later? And he was saying that he talked about how the Pharisees, didn't see anything wrong with them, but they could see everything that was wrong with everybody else. And he said sometimes we have Pharisee-like tendencies. We see the wrong in others, but we don't see the wrong in ourselves. And so I think that was the thing that hit me the hardest, because I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like, even though these situations were targeted against me, there was roles that I played in these situations that I could maybe say, okay, I could see how this person could have gotten this, or I could see how this person may have wanted to do this because of something that, there goes my voice again, something that I've done or said, or they're hurt and they want to see me hurt, or, that little tick for tat game. Just clear my throat here. And so I was just like, wow, like, this is so overwhelming. And I guess I just started laughing, because I'm like, God, you did it again. You're literally convicting me and sitting me down and getting myself together, because, baby girl, you ain't all that. Like, you ain't as good as you think you are, but my grace is sufficient. And so I went to the word, because I was just like, okay, God, I hear what you're saying. You sent me this sermon. I'm listening to you. I hear you. I got to keep extending grace. But God, how do I do that? And so I came to my Bible app, and I just started looking at the word, and I looked at James 4:6, where it says, but he gives more grace. Therefore it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And like I told you guys, these situations have really been humbling me, because it shows me that, like I said, not only do I play a part in this, but I don't have to be conditioned to be bitter. I don't have to be conditioned to be upset with somebody, because that only hinders me. It doesn't hinder the other person, because the other person may not even care, to be honest. And even if they do care, you don't want to provoke someone or chastise someone so much where it's just like, okay, that we'll never be able to see eye to eye ever again because you're going to hold this over my head forever. And I think that when we remember that God's grace is sufficient enough, that's it. He gives us a clean slate. He doesn't sit here and write down a pros and the cons list of the things that we do and then decides which ones he's going to forgive and which ones he's going to hold over our head. He doesn't sit here and say, well, you sinned earlier, so I can't clear your sins anymore for the day. You have to come back tomorrow. So we'll count these sins, for the day. We'll, charge that to the game. But tomorrow, keep in mind, you only have 7 sins that you can do. So if you do 5 in a day, you only got 2 left. So I can't forgive all of them, you know what I'm saying? But God doesn't do that with us. He gives us a clean slate. And his grace is like his love. It's unconditional. It's sufficient enough for us. So, and if we walk around and say, that's just like in the sermon, Robert Madu was singing a song where it says, Spirit, lead me where my trust. And I'm not singing, so do not judge me. Y'all done heard me sing a little bit, so. But anyway, I cannot sing, but it was like, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk beyond the waters whenever you may call me. Take me deep within my... Okay, I can't remember the words. Okay, but anyways, if you actually... Let me look up the lyrics to that song because I can't even remember. But if you actually listen to the words of that song, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Like, do you even know what that means? Oceans, that's the name of it. Oceans. Like, do you really know what that means? And sometimes, and I remember, like, just listening to, like, a lot of gospel. Like, if you take a second, let's just, like, rap music. People are like, oh, these songs and WAP and Sex You Up and all these songs, where it's, like, just degrading to women or degrading to men or sexual and stuff like that. We hear the lyrics in that. But if you actually take a minute to listen to the gospel songs that we listen to and really take a moment and focus in on what we're saying, sometimes you're just like, whoa, wait a minute, because it's a lot, it's literally losing control of your life and actually submitting 100% to God, saying yes. And a lot of times, like he said, we're like Pharisees. We see the flaws in other people, but we don't see them in ourselves. And sometimes, that's just like the word. It says you see the speckle in somebody else's eye, but you do not see the log in yours. It's basically like sweep around your own front door. But here's the lyrics. It says, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. So that just goes back to what I said. Like I said, no, now I'm not singing, y'all, because I cannot sing, and my throat is just not there today. But that just goes back to what I said, where it says, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Like I said, when God takes us through things, God gets the glory. So that's basically what that's saying. And when it says, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders, that's saying, God, take me further than I could ever walk. It literally says that, let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. That means, God, take me where I can't take myself. And sometimes God does that, and it's just like we have to really think about the things that are going on in our life. And sometimes I was watching a sermon too with Pastor Mike Todd, and you guys are probably familiar with it because it was the one where he did the spit with the eyes and stuff like that. But I think that I do feel like, oh, that was a bit much. Like, hey, I ain't doing that. You ain't spitting on me. I don't care if you're my blood brother or not. You ain't put your spit on me. Hey, we got coronavirus on Mario. Oh no. But we're not doing that. But anyways, I ain't here to talk about that because I think that he's a great pastor or whatever, and he's human just like us. So, but aside from that, for one, my friend sent it to me, and I didn't really know what was going on because I had been fasting from social media at that time. So I was just getting back into the social media world, and she sent it to me. And so I seen that part. And I was just so disgusted. I was like, oh my God, I cannot watch that again. But then I said, you know what? What he actually said leading up into that point, and even after the point, because I watched the little clip through. But the message that was behind that was just powerful. It spoke to me in every which way. So I said, you know what? Let me actually pull up this message, and I'll actually link that in the episode notes as well. If you guys would like to watch it, some of you probably like, I ain't watching nothing that he do. I can't believe he did that. He thought he was Jesus. He thought he was God. Like I said, Pharisees. But this is a no judgment zone. Anyways, like I said, we ain't getting into that because this is not the tabloids and we're not judging anybody. However, I feel like that was just a moment where a distraction was put in and people were so focused on what he did and they actually missed what God was doing. Because that message, you guys, oh my goodness, that message was so good. Oh, it gave me chills after I watched it. And he talked about how, what happens when the prayer that you're praying or the miracle that you're asking God for gets nasty. And it's basically, like I said, when your situation hurts, like it's like, God, I've been praying for this, but why do I have to get it this way? Or it reminds me of the series that we were going through at my church, Celebration Church, with This Is Not What I Asked For. What if God gives you the very thing that you're praying for, but it doesn't come in the package, or Christmas just left, so it isn't wrapped the way that we thought it would be, but it's definitely the thing that God is giving us, and it's the answer to our prayers. What do? Do we shy away from it? Do we pull away from it? Or are we going to just walk by faith and believe God for it? And I thought that was so good because I was like, Lord, this is my life in a bunch. I feel like, my life is just crumbling, but the whole time, God, you're literally making a way for me. You're putting the pieces back together. And I remember telling my friend, I said, I just feel like my life is breaking. I feel like I'm in a million pieces on the ground, and as day and day I'm picking more pieces up, and I feel like I'm getting hit by whatever, the wind's blowing, and more pieces are flying away, and I'm just consistently dropping and picking up. And I remember an point in my life where I had seen something. I can't remember what it was. I really can't. I can't. Let me see if I can find it. But there was something. It was like a message or something that someone had sent me. And I want to say it was a Facebook or Instagram post. But it talked about, like, it was a conversation between someone just talking to God. And God was just basically responding. And it was just so good because I was like, wow, like this is so good. And it talked about how that the person felt like they were breaking and, their life was just falling apart. And God was saying that, some pieces are going to fall off of you and some are going to stay. And you just have to realize which ones stay and which ones go. Okay, let me see. I think I found it. But don't quote me to it. Let me see. Okay, wait a minute. I thought I had found it. Okay. But anyways, I thought I found it, but I don't think I did. But it was, I don't know, the whole story was just really good. And some of you may be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. And I'm just trying to find it so I can actually read it. But, I just can't find it. Okay, yeah, I can't find it. But anyways, it was a good, it was just amazing. And I was like, this is my life. Like, this is how I feel. I feel like there are so many things falling apart or falling off of me. And there are things that need to fall off of me. And I guess it's just a hard reality sometimes when those things happen, because we don't always feel like the blessing will come in a messy situation or um, something that we just, wasn't expecting. And so I was just like, wow, like, okay, I found it. Okay, here we go. And it's so crazy because the picture is like a picture of a person. It has like a million pieces. Like, anyway, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. So it says, me, hey, God. And God says, hello. The person says, I'm falling apart. Can you put me back together? God says, I would rather not. Person says, why? God says, because you aren't a puzzle. And the person says, what about all of the pieces of my life that are falling down onto the ground? God said, let them stay there for a while. They fell off for a reason. Take some time and decide if you need any of those pieces back. The person says, you don't understand. I'm breaking down. God said, no, you don't understand. You are breaking through. What you are feeling are just growing pains. You are shedding the things and the people in your life that are holding you back. You aren't falling apart. You are falling into place. Relax. Take some deep breaths and allow those things you don't need anymore to fall off of you. Quit holding on to the pieces that don't fit you anymore. Let them fall off. Let them go. The person says, once I start doing that, well, what will be left of me? God says, only the very best pieces of you. The person says, I'm scared of changing. God says, I keep telling you, you aren't changing, you are becoming. The person says, becoming who? God says, becoming who I created you to be. A person of light and love and clarity and hope and courage and joy and mercy and grace and compassion. I made you more than the shallow pieces you have decided to adorn yourself with that you cling to with such greed and fear. Let those things fall off of you. I love you. Don't change. Become who I made you to be. I'm going to keep telling you this until you remember it. The person says, there goes another piece. God said, yep, let it be. The person says, so I'm not broken? God says, of course not, but you are breaking like the dawn. It's a new day. Become. And I commented like a whole bunch of hearts and stuff. You guys, the reason I was laughing while I was reading this was because this literally is me. Like, everything that was in that was literally what I was saying yesterday, what I'm saying today. And it's just so hard because, and I literally had a therapy session yesterday, and I told my therapist, I said, I just feel like I feel less of value. I feel like I don't have enough value in me because the people and the things around me that I used to hold on to are literally turning around and changing on me. And the more they change, the more I loosen my grip. And like I told you guys, I told my friend, I feel like a million pieces are falling off me. And as I'm picking them up, the same pieces are falling. And so to read that again, I remember when I first read it, I was in tears. And to sit here and read it again, it just gave me chills because it's like, wow, this is literally, guys, just a reminder, not only for you guys, but for me. And I hadn't even thought of that. I didn't think of that until just now. I had forgot all about that post and that the meaning of it. And I'm telling you guys, when you let God lead you, man, it's just no limits to what He's going to do in your life. There's no limits to what you can be and who you're going to become, because with God, everything is possible. And I really feel like, I'm becoming a person who is more vulnerable, which that is so hard for me, you guys. If I can be real, that is so hard. I'm not a vulnerable person because I don't trust people with my feelings, and to feel like I have to be vulnerable in order to gain trust or feel like I can trust people is just so hard, because I've never had to do that before. And God is just consistently with this one person telling me, just be honest, just be vulnerable, let it happen, and just trust me. And that's so hard. And that's why I say, you guys, we have to remember the things that we're asking God for. The things that we're saying to the Lord, the songs that we're singing in the mornings when we wake up, the prayers that we're praying, it's so real, it's so real. And we just have to stand on what God's word says. We can't stand on what we believe. We can't stand on what we think is true or what we think God is saying. We have to actually stand on God's true word. And we have to just be real with him and come to him as we are, broken as we may seem. And God will put us back together, and he will mold us into the person that we're supposed to be. And so I just wanted to encourage you guys today that this may hurt. I'm not gonna say it's not. It may hurt because I'm hurting, you guys. I can be 100% honest with you guys. And even in this moment, even in uplifting you guys, I have to break down myself because, like I said, it's not easy for me to be 100% honest with my feelings and with my vulnerability. It's hard for me, even though I can't see you guys. I'm not talking to you guys like literally in a full setting. To record this and know that thousands and hundreds of people may hear it, it's just scary because it's like, what would they think of me? Like, oh, she's weak, or I wouldn't dare forgive her. And I literally had a conversation. I'm going to close on this, but I literally had a conversation with a homegirl earlier, and we were talking about something, and she said, better you than me, or better her than me. She's better than me. I could never do that. And that broke me down because I'm just like, oh, I got some stuff I want to say, but I can't say it because I know that if I say it, that's going to be you talking about me saying better her than me or better you than me, And that's another thing I want to let you know. Thank you, Lord, because I was not going to say that. But you have to be mindful about who you tell experiences to, who you're vulnerable with. Do not give your vulnerability to just any random people. Have discernment and know that the people that you're talking to, you can trust them. You can trust them with you 100%. And those people will be people that push you into purpose, and they'll be able to guide you on the right things to do. And they'll be able to help mold you into the person that you need to, and just be honest with you and say, you're human. It's normal. And that's what my therapist was telling me. She was like, Jasmine, it's normal. Just because people aren't talking about how they feel, that doesn't make you abnormal for saying it. It doesn't make you abnormal for wanting to forgive these people. It doesn't make you abnormal for having these feelings because your feelings are valid. It's okay. And I think that because we're in a world where everything is just like so hidden and shallow, we think that when something like this happens, we think we're weak. And other people think we're weak. And so you have to have discernment with who you share your information with, because that is so important. And have people around you that can build you up, man, when you're falling down, because I'm telling you, you're going to fall, but it's just a matter of not staying there. And if you do stay there, just in that moment, talk to the Lord, help him, have him pick you up. And when he picks you up, get you some people around you that can help push you, so that you have a good foundation. And so that's what my word for you guys for today. I know the beginning started off a little rough, a little roughy, what? But it started off a little rough, but I got there. And I broke through the distractions that the devil was trying to put on my heart to just get me away from my thoughts and stuff like that. Like I tell you guys, every time I record, there's always something. There's distractions. I'm telling you, God is in the middle of this podcast. He's all around this podcast. These are actually real things that I'm going through. And this is, like I said, a lot of things that I end up saying, like, this was not supposed to be this long. I'm talking for 37 minutes. Like, what the heck? Who's going to listen to this for 37 minutes? But it's real because God put things on my heart as I'm talking to just say. And I'm just like, thank you, because I wasn't going to say those things, or I didn't even have it on my mind. Like I said, the post, I didn't think of that until I started talking. And so I'm telling you guys, get centered around God, man. Get serious. If you have not done a fast, please do. I don't care if it's for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Fast and steadfast, like to God. Fast and just spend some time with God and let him mold you. Let him make you into the woman or the man that he's called you to be, and become who he's called you to be. So thankful for you guys playing this episode. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening. I hope you stay tuned for more episodes. Remember, being grateful makes you gorgeous.